Okay.
I came to IDC, I visited, ran into a friend. I just love the school. I love the fact that I can study, counterterrorism and international relations in the area that it's all going on. And that's just, a huge plus, especially as an American, because most kids my age are, partying at different schools, having a great time, like learning here and there. But they don't get to, go to Tel Aviv whenever they want, go see what's going on. They can't just go down south in Israel. And I have the benefit. And I'm studying government, specifically counterterrorism and international relations. So learning from the best of the best in the field, high-profile Israeli commanders and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just great.
Again, you're familiar with plenty of the different, corporate television stations here in the U.S., CNN, Fox, NBC, etc. What's your take on, from the outside looking in and now being in Israel, the amount of publicity this, this topic, this subject gets? What's your take on that in the whole media realm?
Well, of course, every news agency has their biases in one direction or the other. CNN, BBC, Fox, generally, pro-Israel, anti-Israel. I try to stay away from American news, which is kind of weird to say because when I was in America, I followed it consistently. But now that I'm here, I can actually see the difference between what CNN and Fox are saying and what, just not even non-news sources. Like what I follow for my news, it's this blog. It's just completely objective. Just what happened, what's confirmed, at what time, and you just make your own sort of sense out of it.
Yeah, and so what I would love
sort of shifted away from listening to American news, opinionated media.
Totally. So can you go into detail on that? I mean, I think that I find that very interesting. What are you seeing differently once you're inside the country versus what, let's say, you're getting here on the news? That I would be getting here on the news. That's right to my left over here. That they're reporting. What's different?
Well, specifically speaking, CNN, which it's fairly weird for me to say because that was the channel I watched the most.
That's what I have on right here.
When I came here, and I see a picture on Facebook of a guy being carried away, and then 5 minutes later, he's caught in the background of another video, and he's just walking away completely fine, unharmed. It was just completely staged.
Uh-huh.
And obviously that's not happening here. If you're injured, you're injured. Just get back up and walk away.
But the fact that
also just the reporting of what's actually going on in Gaza, like who's firing rockets when, who's being killed when, I find that a lot of the time it's just generally false. There have even been reports of there was a picture of someone who was killed, and apparently they were killed in some conflict with Syria 4 years back.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, very interesting. So, that's ultimately one of the things that our company here, Vonvo, is looking to provide people with. We're looking to empower citizens journalism. Allow basically people with an opinion that are in on the action or subject, trending current events that's going on. Allow them to have a voice and give people an alternative to corporate television and news by hearing real life opinions of the primary resource, right? Israel. What's the Israeli government telling you in terms of a ground invasion or just airstrikes? What's the U.S. government, since you are American and you're just there studying? So do you want to give me some insight into that? What exactly is being reported to you?
What the Israeli government's saying?
Yeah, what are they saying?
The Israeli government's saying. I'm sorry?
Yeah, what are they saying?
They're just reporting exactly what's happening, obviously emphasizing the amount of missiles that have been fired. It's a bit confusing as to, I can't really gauge whether or not there's going to be an actual ground invasion anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I have friends that were in the military waiting all up the reserves, and they're predicting. They've had the experience. I unfortunately haven't. They have. They're pretty confident that there should be some ground invasion soon, but it's been very vague on the news as to what's going to happen. Mostly just trying to gain international support for what's going on here.
So, what's the main thing that you believe people should know? About what, let's say, they're hearing in the media, but is not being shared, and is actually, you can only witness by hearing it from the actual source. What's like the main things that you kind of would like to share with people that they should know about this entire conflict and what maybe is causing the Palestinians to do this?
I think that what everyone needs to understand is that it's not as though Israel is really oppressing these people into one small area and they're just living in like some sort of like ghetto scenario. Like, basically what it is that Gaza is a closed territory.
Got it.
But the Palestinian Authority there is not actually like a nation yet. So Israel, again, like I said earlier with the international law fiasco, as to what exactly Israel can do and Israel can't do. Like, if you want to picture it, it's basically as though the cartel in Mexico is firing missiles at America from Mexico. And there's nothing America can do to go in there without international outcry, but they just keep getting hit and getting hit and getting hit. And, the cartel is just aiming it at any southern town, just where there's a massive population. Like here, even concerts have been canceled because that would unfortunately be a prime target.
Mm-hmm.
And, so everyone's like been told to stay inside, avoid large gatherings. Like, we're living with rules that a normal society shouldn't have to deal with.
Got it. The U.S.'s stance and how Obama's kind of shown a, direct support for Israel so far. What's your take on that matter? And what do you think we should be doing as the U.S.? What do you think?
Well, I'm very glad that the U.S. has decided to back Israel because, it's a big country, very powerful country, not only in like hard power militarily, if this were to escalate in a full war, but also in their political power around the world. Like, people see America follow something and they're like, okay, let's give Israel a chance. And that's a great feeling to have. And I wasn't entirely shocked that the president decided to back Israel because this is the only democracy in the Middle East. And since America has been dubbed the nickname, the leader of the free world, it is America's duty to make sure that democracies around the world are protected. And I think Barack Obama's done a great job with that.
Okay, cool. And just so you know, I'm looking at my TV here, and it looks like that bomb explosion has injured 22 people, which is pretty frightening. And I see the picture of the bus right now. I don't know if you've heard that already, though.
Last I checked, it was 10, but that was like literally 5 minutes after it happened.
Okay.
But also, I saw a picture of the bus, and there was no hole in the side. It was just the windows were blown out.
Yeah.
So hopefully the people aren't too injured.
Yeah. And I'm sure the facts will kind of be delivered in over the coming hours of exactly what happened. You're an educated individual, and
I did read.
Yeah, go ahead.
That it wasn't Hamas.
You did read that it was Hamas?
It was not Hamas.
Oh, okay. So then they could.
It was Hamas was surprised at the fact that the bus had blown up, and they are claiming it was Fatah.
Okay, can you go into who Fatah is, please?
Fatah is the armed side of the PLO, and mostly in the West Bank. They're the ones that are responsible for all like the intifadas, the violence in the past years. just a very militant group. The biggest fear, I'd have to say, is Hezbollah.
Which is in Lebanon, right?
They are heavily armed, well-trained, much more dangerous than Hamas, who's trapped in Gaza. They have Lebanon. They're free to enter from the north at any point. And with Hezbollah coming in first, and then Hamas coming up in the south, it'd just be a bad situation.
Yeah, and so, I mean, what do you, I mean, just as, an educated individual, can you give us some insight into, are Hamas and Hezbollah and Egypt at all connected, with the whole Muslim Brotherhood? Is Fatah more connected with Hezbollah? And you want to just give a background of how that kind of works, please? If you know.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm used to just talking about these things with teachers and people in my class. So
yeah, no problem.
If I'm being unspecific, let me know. There's the three groups. There's the PLO, which Fatah is part of. There's Hamas, and then there's Hezbollah, which are three different organizations. All I deem them as terrorist organizations. The international community thinks otherwise. But those are the three groups that are anti-Israel. Those are the three terrorist organizations. And, the PLO is mostly in the West Bank. Hamas is in Gaza. Hezbollah has Lebanon and a bit of Syria. In Syria also, there's that's a big worry about Syria coming in.
Now, isn't it just... Okay, no, I mean, it's funny that you bring up Syria, because isn't it just wild that, let's say, the Israeli-Palestinian, it's getting a lot of attention, and it should get a lot of attention because it's ongoing. But isn't it... give me your take on this. In the American media, it's almost like Syria has taken a back seat, and yet over 20,000, I think, civilians have been killed. Like, what does that even tell us about, like, our world right now in that region? Like, it's not even reported. Like, what does that even tell us?
It's a bit sickening, honestly, that there is a conflict in Israel that is going on. Yes, that should be reported on fairly, but then again, there's this atrocity going on in Syria, and people are just being, mass murdered there. And the news feels that they can make more money off of discussing Israel, because when people hear Israel, they automatically tune in. When they hear Syria, they're just like, I probably don't even know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
But when they hear Israel and Gaza, it's immediate. And it's unfortunate that the news agencies have to sway their stories to their viewership. And I feel like the Syrian situation should be definitely published a lot more. Definitely discussed. Definitely should get a lot more attention than it is.
Yep.
It's unfortunate that I can't rely on the news, that I have to go to these private, smaller things. Vonvo is great because it's face-to-face. You can see what's being said, how it's being said, and get the real truth.
With this, what is the message that you want to portray to the world, and anyone that were to view this video, about what's going on?
Basically, what I'd like to say to the rest of the world is, wake up, realize what's going on here. Don't follow every single news report you see. Go to different sources. Make a real educated decision about how you feel, and understand what's really going on before you make any sort of judgment calls or form an opinion. You need to find objective sources. You need to stray away from the CNNs, the Foxes, the BBCs of the news, and don't completely ignore them, but take what they say with a grain of salt. Definitely. Analyze when you see something. Don't just be like, "Oh, okay, that happened." Analyze, why did that happen? What made that scenario come about? Just basically research, learn, be educated about the situation. Because at the end of the day, not enough people understand what's going on here, and so there's not enough international support for Israel. But as soon as people understand that, we're actually just fighting terrorists, there will be be more support and hopefully a peaceful end to this whole debacle.